Time now for your forecast first. WRBL News 3 First Alert Weather.
Okay, a beautiful view, isn't it? And we have a couple more days of dry, and thanks to high pressure, keeping us high and dry, we go to the Phoenix City Amphitheater. You can start seeing the Riverwalk now, but not completely clear. We're still at action stage at 26.2 feet. Got to get below 25 feet for us to see the entire Riverwalk, but that's coming up in your forecast. Now, 82 degrees. The temperatures are up and away, that's for sure. We're going to hit about 84 tomorrow. This is what we're talking about. More 80s, dry conditions until we come into Thursday. It'll be a system that's actually sitting out there right now, but it's not coming our way just yet, and I'll explain why. You're watching WRBL News 3 on your side.
A manhunt underway after a deadly stabbing in Auburn over the weekend.
Police say the suspect was out on parole against their advice. Plus, good news may be on the way for hockey fans around the valley.
Hockey's return to the Civic Center is one city council vote from reality.
On your side, this is News 3 Evening Edition.
Good evening, everyone. We thank you for trusting News 3. I'm Phil Scoggins.
And I'm Teresa Whitaker. Now to an update. Columbus police officers have finished their investigation into an accident on April 4th when a dump truck struck and killed a downtown pedestrian in a wheelchair. Investigators have determined that 30-year-old W.D. Feeney was not in the crosswalk legally. The dump truck driver, 62-year-old Bradley Netherland of Phoenix City, was cited for 2 traffic violations: an overweight truck crossing the Dillingham Street Bridge and stopping over the stop bar. He was not cited for anything related to Feeney's death. Investigators concluded that the dump truck driver could not see Feeney in the wheelchair when the truck accelerated on the green light. The motor squad under Lieutenant Lance Deaton conducted the investigation.
We are done with the accident investigation, and at the conclusion of this, it was just a tragic accident.
You can find more on this story if you head over to WRBL.com.
First on 3, Auburn police and U.S. Marshals are searching for the man that they say stabbed an Auburn woman early Sunday morning, killing her.
News 3 has confirmed the suspect was out on parole against the advice of the Auburn Police Department. News 3's Elizabeth White joins us live from our East Alabama newsroom with this story. Liz.
Well, investigators say the 59-year-old victim was stabbed to death inside her home early Sunday morning. Today, we spoke with neighbors and friends who say they are devastated this type of violence visited their quiet community and took the life of their friend.
I see her every day. Real sad. It hurt. Saw you yesterday and you're gone today. On a Easter day. Praise the Lord.
Sunday morning's violence inside 59-year-old Phyllis Galette's apartment at the Porter Avenue housing complex has rattled neighbors and friends.
She was a nice person. He was a nice person.
Auburn police and U.S. Marshals are tracking the suspect, 48-year-old Christopher Lyles.
We do believe that they knew each other, and there was some type of altercation that led to him escalating to the point where he stabbed her to death.
At the time of the alleged stabbing, Auburn police confirm Lyles was out on early parole on a 16-year sentence for a 2008 assault conviction. Police say the 2008 assault happened when Lyles was out on early parole yet again on a 30-year sentence for 1992 robbery, assault, and discharging of firearm convictions. Chief Register remembers writing a letter asking the parole board to deny Lyles second early parole.
So certainly in the case of Mr. Lyles, we did respond that we would prefer him not to be released. But again, certainly can't speak to whatever circumstances or considerations as to who's released and who's not.
Now, a woman is dead, and investigators say they're working around the clock to get Lyles into custody before anyone else gets hurt.
I think this situation was specific to the 2 people as to how that escalated. But again, when someone can commit a crime of violence like that, that is someone that we don't want out running around without knowing where they are. We'd like to end that possibility of him having another situation with someone else.
And if you have any information on where Lyles, the suspect, may be, you're encouraged to call the Auburn Police Department. We will, of course, keep you updated. For now, reporting live on your side from your East Alabama newsroom, I'm News 3's Elizabeth White.
All right, thank you, Elizabeth. Following the devastating March 3rd tornadoes, United Way of Central Alabama implemented a web page for the collection of donations for the United Way of Lee County. The fund received large contributions from Mercedes, Coca-Cola, and Honda, as well as individuals wanting to help.
The check we're presenting today is just over $194,000. It's money that was raised from all across Alabama and the country. The money is going to be given to the United Way of Lee County, and it is going to be used for long-term recovery.
The United Way of Lee County says it's committed to using the funds to help victims with long-term recovery needs. United Way is working with MEND, that's the local long-term recovery committee, to determine the unmet needs and to help make families whole again as much as possible.
Local farmers continue to struggle 6 months after Hurricane Michael devastated crops across the southeast.
This as Congress fails once again to pass a federal disaster aid bill that would send funds to those affected. News 3's Michaela Singleton is live in the studio following up on the latest plea issued to our country's leaders. Michaela.
Well, Phil and Teresa, this letter just came out today into our studio. Now, in it, 135 growers, agricultural groups, businesses, they're all urging President Trump and congressional leaders to finally pass the federal disaster aid package as thousands of America's farmers struggle with the aftermath of 2018 natural disasters.
Spring means the start of planting season for many farmers. However, those whose crops were devastated by Hurricane Michael may be facing the tough decision to go out of business. Local experts tell News 3 farmers are struggling without the federal disaster aid that's also struggling to make it through Congress.
They need to have the money they need to plant their crops. They have to have equipment that was destroyed in the hurricane, because not only was it crops that were destroyed, it was infrastructure as well.
Morgan says Georgia suffered heavy agricultural losses after the Category 5 hurricane hit in October. More than $600 million worth of cotton crops were destroyed, $374 million worth of timber, and $560 million worth of pecans, just to name a few. He says if local farmers weren't able to save enough of their 2018 crop and make enough money to buy this year's seed, that ripple effect may mean they'll never recover.
In the pecan crop, you're talking about 20 and 30 years. So you got a producer that's 50 or 60 years old, he'll never see the recuperation of those losses.
Congress failed once again in early April to pass a federal disaster aid package which would include Hurricane Michael relief to the southeast, as well as funds to other areas affected by 2018 natural disasters. The debate is currently split along party lines as President Trump declared he will not support further financial aid to Puerto Rico, while Democrats oppose an aid package without it. 135 agricultural agencies across America now appeal in a letter to Trump and congressional leaders, urging them to consider the thousands of families facing hardship the longer it takes to receive aid.
It's about families. It's not about politics. We've got families that are hurting in dire need, not just in Georgia, but all across the country. We've had floods, wildfires, devastating weather, and those guys are hurting. They feed our country, so we need that help.
Congress will return from a break-in session later this week when they will continue debating the proposed $13.5 billion federal aid bill. Now, Republicans submitted an aid package that would include $600 million in food-only aid to Puerto Rico. Democrats turned this down, saying they will not agree without additional money to cover infrastructure recovery. Phil, Teresa.
All right, thank you so much, Michaela. Well, it appears that hockey's return to the Civic Center is one Columbus Council vote from reality.
Indeed. News 3's Chuck Williams broke the story earlier this month. He's joining us now with the latest details. Chuck?
Phil, Teresa, an ownership group from the Federal Hockey League has negotiated a lease with the Civic Center that must be approved by council. That vote will come at Tuesday afternoon's meeting. Columbus has been without hockey for 2 seasons. In 2017, the Columbus Cottonmouths folded after 2 decades in the Civic Center. The 6-team Federal League is primarily up north, but there is a franchise in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Carolina Thunderbirds GM Scott Bland is the spokesman for the ownership group that wants to, the ownership group which has not been identified.
Yeah, if that gets approved, I would say we've got a 95% chance it's going to happen. I mean, you never want to say 100%, but you know, the Federal League has already granted the team pending the approval of the lease, and then you just got to cross some I's and dot some T's. I don't know what would stand in its way. As I said, it's a tremendous facility. It's a tremendous city, and so I can't see a reason why it wouldn't be dropping the puck in October.
For more details on this story, go to WRBL.com. This news will make a lot of local hockey fans happy. Phil, Teresa.
All right, thank you so much, Chuck. Coming up right here on Evening Edition, suicide among veterans on the rise. That story straight ahead.
Can't help it. This high pressure system looks like a hockey puck, doesn't it? Dropping the big H there. The high pressure is going to keep us high and dry until this system starts to move eastward. You know that means when that happens, a little rain, but not just yet. We'll show you when. Coming up.
This month alone, at least 3 veterans have committed suicide at Veterans Affairs facilities. AMVET says the deaths appear to be in protest of a system they say is failing to properly treat veterans.
The group is now calling for a multi-agency investigation into the ongoing veteran suicide crisis. Jackson has details now from Washington.
The VA is meant to be a place veterans go for treatment, but recently they've become a place where vets go to harm themselves.
Walk into a clinic and shoot him or herself, or light him or herself on fire. What's going on?
Sherman Gillums with AMVET says recent suicides at VA facilities are drastic calls for help. The organization says Veterans Affairs, the Department of Defense, and other federal agencies must investigate the alarming trend and do more to help.
Combine those resources and figure out why this population is killing itself in the numbers that it has been.
Lawmakers admit existing methods aren't working, and they're willing to try new ways to prevent service members and veterans from committing suicide.
Too many veterans who are committing suicide. We have too many veterans that have mental health issues, and we also have this opioid problem.
Senator Shelley Moore Capito of West Virginia supports agrotherapy. Her state is among 10 sites nationwide picked for an alternative treatment pilot program. It uses agricultural resources such as crop production and planting to help veterans heal.
It's this circle of life, I think, that they find is very restorative to people.
And when it comes to the war against suicide, Gillums says veterans need all the support they can get.
To experience different things besides taking drugs, taking painkillers.
In addition, the Trump administration is proposing billions for suicide prevention efforts. Supporters hope it's enough to stop those who served from taking their own lives. In Washington, Bree Jackson.
And we are back to our weather now. We're talking about a warm-up.
Certainly. I mean, when we start talking about 80s consistently, yeah, they're here to stay, guys. And it could even get into the very extended, into the mid to upper 80s. Go figure. All right. Here we're getting towards the end of April, and we have a couple fundamentals with the storm system. One, that it's not budging right now. Two, it will eventually come through. And we're going to show you how it may maybe even weaken it a little bit, so we're not talking severe weather by the end of the week. That's coming up.
News 3 brings you your first alert forecast.
So clear, fair, dry, no clouds, no storm systems. Nice to report. But just the way it would have it, the way weather kind of repeats itself, guess what? Thursday will mark that system, and I'm going to show you off towards the northwest part of your screen to return into the forecast. And you'll see how it comes into the region. But very slow, though. That's some good news. Here we go. Let's look at those clouds advancing across Texas and Louisiana. Coming up tomorrow afternoon and morning, we're going to watch this because as it comes through, it just brushes with just a few high clouds. That's about it. So Tuesday looking good and sunny. Late in the day, maybe some high clouds from that. Just a little weak disturbance. It doesn't even provide us with any rain or anything. Then we got an area of low pressure going to travel right along the western periphery. We talk about this at WRBL.com right now on the main page, in our weather page, but it pushes the system off to the west, and eventually it'll allow it to come back into this direction. That's what we're going to watch in the storm forecast. And until then, we'll see some showers kind of moving its way back into the first alert forecast. So today, speaking of which, 80s will be something you better get used to. Here we go. It's kind of like cool in the morning, Shorts and afternoon type day. This is the weather that I think many people love to enjoy. We did fairly well here, more than 4 inches for the month, and we're looking at this. We're looking at the overnight forecast feeling quite nice. In fact, it's going to be clear, not as cool as it was this morning. We had a lot of mid-40s out there. Nicole Phillips was in this morning, and she was talking about some chilly temperatures. It's still going to be chilly, but it will warm up quickly once that sun comes back in the forecast. It'll be late in the afternoon. We may see some high, thin clouds. That's about it. But generally speaking, 84. That's warmer than 78, which would be what we would see on average. 7-day forecast then, some mid-80s. We're tackling that now. Look at this. We'll keep that right into Thursday. It'll be Thursday late, and the clouds start to build. And that system slowly moves in here. And I say slowly, but it doesn't have the makings of a violent kind of churning system, what we had last week. The good news is that this should come in here, bring in some rain. By this point, we're going to want some, trust me, because the air quality will be kind of like, okay, it's time to recharge it a little bit, get some of the pollen out of the air and soot or whatever may be out there. And we're looking at those showers kind of all day spinning around the backside when the system kind of slides south and east across the Florida Panhandle and goes right into Apalachicola down into Florida and to the peninsula. It's kind of an interesting system. And then we're sunny again for the weekend. Come on, that's looking pretty good. But what's not looking pretty good is when you look at average tornadoes for the state of Alabama. Phil, you reminded me of this today, and Teresa talking about 2011, 27 of 2011. We all remember more than 60 tornadoes killed so many people. It was, of course, the 3 of March that did so much devastation in Lee County. But that brings us right close to the second and over average for this time of year already to date for the state of Alabama for the amount of tornadoes that we have had. We don't want to see any more. But as we start to get into May, we start to see these systems not become so aggressive. Then we have to start looking at the tropics, as you all know.
Sure. All right, Bob, thank you so much.
Well, this morning, the Chattahoochee River finally fell below flood stage after being around the 27-foot mark for the entire weekend. That was the first recorded measurement before the minor flood stage mark since Friday morning.
That's when heavy rains in the area caused the river to rise rapidly. The Chattahoochee rose nearly 11 feet in just 5 hours. All right, heading now to sports. The NFL season still a few months away, but the draft is this week.
Yes, Rex, it's never too early to talk football, and you guys already getting ready for that NFL draft?
I don't know about everyone else, but I miss football so much. This is kind of an appetizer for the upcoming season. Coming up after the break, we'll break down the predictions for where the Auburn Tigers will end up in the NFL. Stick around.
Time for News 3 Sports.
The NFL season kicks off. The NFL draft kicks off this Thursday, and we'll meet the newest class of millionaire athletes that get to wear a ball cap and a suit. Honestly, we have no idea which draft picks will become superstars at the next level. What we do know is that plenty of players from Auburn, Georgia, and Alabama will get their names called. Now, as a part of our pre-draft stories, we'll go over which big-time players entered their name into this year's draft. Let's start with Auburn. One of the biggest names coming out of the Plains is 2-year starter Jarrett Stidham. CBS experts say Stidham is the 4th best quarterback in the draft and predicting he'll go late in the 4th round, maybe early in the 5th, with the 138th pick, which belongs to the Eagles. Also on the offense, wideout Darius Slayton is projected to go in the 4th round to the Giants. Slayton racked up 1,600 receiving yards and averaged 20 yards a catch. A big name on the defense is senior linebacker Deshaun Davis. For the NFL, Davis is considered to be small, standing at 5'11", but he did rack up 112 tackles and 3.5 sacks on his senior season at the Plains. Now, some experts believe Davis will go undrafted and will be picked up as a free agent. As for the rest of the Tigers in the draft, junior cornerback Jamal Dean projected to be the highest drafted Tiger, also going in the 4th round to Green Bay. Lineman Dontavius Russell expected to go in the 6th round to the Bengals. Ryan Davis, the senior wideout, made history on the Plains, becoming the all-time receptions leader for Auburn. He's projected not to be drafted at all, and the same goes for linebacker Darrell Williams. Over at Lake Bottom Park, back in town, Columbus High hosting Mary Pearson's in the 2nd round of the playoff. Over to the singles, Harrison Brown taking on Micah Wilson. Brown hits a forehand, but Wilson's return goes straight into the net. He wins the point. On the number 1 doubles, Holden and Johnson taking on Preston and William Wilson. Bulldogs can't handle the Devils' return. It's a point for Holden and Johnson. The number 2 singles, William Holden taking on, right there. Check out the ace right there for the Devils. In the end, guys, the Columbus Blue Devils handle their business at home, sweeping the Bulldogs in a perfect 4-0. Right after the boys, it was the girls also taking on Mary Pearson's. Singles, number 2, Sydney McRae, with a chance to win the first point. Good serve, followed by a soft forehand. gives her game number 1. Singles number 1, future Mercer Bear Mary Weston. Corville unleashes a killer serve. Nice job on the return by Mary Weston's. Overhand too much to handle. Over to doubles now. Kelsey Human and Alexi Greer already up 2-0. Kelsey puts this one way out of reach. Finally, doubles number 1, Sherry Achenbach and Kendra Woodman up 3-0. Chance to make it 4-zip. Backhand from Kendra. Like the fellas, the Blue Devils sweep here. 4-zip. Good day to be a Columbus Blue Devil. Back off the court, it was time to celebrate for Shaw High School's campus. Volleyball player Michaela Allen is taking her talents to the college level. This afternoon, Allen signed her national letter of intent to play volleyball at Allen College in South Carolina. Allen did play basketball for the Raiders, but ultimately she decided volleyball was the best choice for her. She did have some offers from D1 schools like Georgia Southern and Georgia State, but she explained why Allen College was the best fit for her.
I knew a lot of people there, and I felt like it was better to start out with a smaller college, because sometimes going to a bigger college can be nervous, can make you nervous. I definitely would not sign for basketball. It's not something I'm actually in love with. It was just something that I had the skill set to do, so I just did it.
Congratulations to her. Always a big day when they do sign to the next level. And she does plan to eventually, after spending some years on that campus, go up to a bigger university. Guys, stick around. We have more News 3 coming up right after this.
And that's going to do it for News 3 Evening Edition.
Have a safe and pleasant evening.
Good night.